Hey everybody, welcome to the Couples Cast by CK. Shout out to Rhino Rush, Channel 99 studio sponsor. Do a great job on the relax shot. If you're taking too much Adderall during the day and you can't get any sleep, try a relax shot at night and it'll put you right down. On the flip side, if you're finding yourself in the back of an Uber at 2:30 in the morning, a Jack in the Crack, compounding it down and you got to go to work the next day, try one of their energy shots. They're at all the local gas stations. That's Rhino Rush. Check them out. All right, everyone. Season 1, Episode 2. Today we have in studio a guest, Zarin. He's the host of the Expand podcast. We brought him on kind of on short notice. He's filling in for us, doing a great job. We figured he could handle it because he's a podcast host, so we know he can go off the wing. He was surprised. Hey, guess what? You're coming on a dating show tonight instead of the Pro Age podcast. And across from me, always the lovely Kelly. She one fine girl.
How you doing?
Good. How you doing?
Good.
All right. So kicking it off, Kelly, how was your week?
Oh man, my week was good. My weekend was amazing. You just put me on the spot here. Everything's good. I can't wait to talk more with you.
Yeah, same for sure. Yeah. Thank you all for having me. This is a great setup. This is a cool studio, and I'm ready to get weird and improvise.
Yeah, and vice versa.
We're all about getting weird.
We love getting weird up in here, baby.
I can tell. I like it.
So, yeah, Zarin had me on the Expanding podcast. Let me rap about my nonprofit. That was super awesome. And so we're going to put him on the spot here. He happens to be kind of newly in a relationship, about a half a year. So we're going to ask you, how did you meet your significant other? Did you meet her in online dating, through a friend? What was it like there for you in that interaction when you were out before you met her? Kind of, what was the dating scene like for you?
Well, we kind of knew each other from afar for a long time, last couple of years. We saw each other around town, kind of naturally started talking, seeing each other more and more around town. It kind of became a thing to where we should probably start hanging out. I've seen you everywhere, and then kind of one thing led to another, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Right on, so it kind of just naturally.
Super smooth, super natural, yeah.
So it wasn't like a social media hit up or a Tinder blast?
For once, it actually wasn't.
Nice.
So that's always a good thing.
So for once, do you get hounded a lot? I mean, you're a good-looking dude.
Thank you, my friend. I definitely appreciate that.
And a podcast host.
You're very kind. I don't know, man. I mean, it's just that modern time, you know? It's super easy to reach out on social media, get to know people. I mean, it's weird when you actually meet in person in terms of online, because there's body language interaction, there's energy interaction, there's a lot more that's actually happening from that person. Sure. And I feel like, you know, the more that we can kind of become in tune with who we are, the more that we can feel if we align with the people around us, either friends or family or relationships or intimacy or anything.
Let me get your two thoughts on this, Kelly and Zarin. So, like, if that's the case, do you think maybe that's why people are so quick to just go to coffee now? Because it's a quicker interaction. You can get to that body language quicker as opposed to a formal sit-down at dinner? Because that seems to be the go-to now, like coffee.
That literally, okay, so sorry to interject here, but
no, perfect.
I just got hit up randomly. I never get dates online from like Bumble and Tinder. I just don't really entertain people very often because I'm so busy. So, but like, some girl literally invited me out to coffee, and I was like, that's so generic. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
like,
totally.
Basic. I don't know how that works. I was like, how did I know she was going to ask me out to coffee at like 10 in the morning? Which is good, though, because I'd rather do like 10 in the morning so I can go work out right afterwards and kind of like get my day started than have to like do everything all day. And
how well is the day going?
Out.
What kind of working out you doing, player?
It's my cardio, dude. My cardio. That's round 2, though, later.
But do you think that might be subjective to that body language type stuff?
Well, I mean,
you can cancel them out quicker.
I don't know. I think you can kind of be anyone online. We talked about that last week. Mm-hmm. So meeting is definitely important before it goes too far. Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe they're super witty online, but they can't talk in person. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard too when you think about like a surface level interaction, because no matter who you are, where you are, it is kind of hard to kind of get a deeper concept of who you're dealing with.
Okay.
And I feel like when we engage even in a surface level area, like going to coffee, we're naturally going to be more surface level in our own behavior. So we're probably not going to share those deeper parts of ourselves when we understand like we're just in a Starbucks for the first time meeting. You know what I mean?
Damn, that's deep, dog. You're good.
This guy's good.
Well,
yeah.
I feel like I'm kind of in a counseling session.
Okay.
I'm like,
Yeah.
hey, what do you think? I got this friend. He's got this bump.
Well, I mean,
It's actually you.
that's funny.
He's not sure where the rash came from,
Yeah.
but he's pretty positive
That's
it was from
funny.
an interaction with a gal. She might have worked at a truck stop or in the back of a truck stop. I can't remember the whole
Already
story.
not sounding good.
Yeah, we have to
I've heard better.
just stop. No more.
This friend of mine. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
it's hard when we can meet so many people so rapidly nowadays. You know, because I mean, I don't want to waste my time. Nobody wants to waste their time. So if it can be a quick, meeting, for a moment or an hour or whichever, then we kind of can get that concept of who this person is, if we do vibe or not. But I mean, I like to move in more of an important motion, not just kind of throw out a couple dollars here and there. Like if I'm going to invest, I'm going to actually invest in what I'm doing. So if I'm actually intrigued in you as a person, then we're going to do more things that actually are meaningful to me and see how we align in that aspect. I mean, I like to choose my my words and my people very wisely,
Damn, you are deep. So let me ask you this. Let me throw you a curveball. So what about if all those are in place, but that, the physical chemistry, you know what I'm talking about, girl.
Hey.
But you know what I'm saying, that the chemistry. And what's your thoughts on that? What if all those other equations are in place? Do you still play ball? Or if the chemistry's not 100%, you know that probably you're going to fade out in time?
It's a very good question. So for me, I mean, I really do my best to follow my intuition as much as possible. And it really hasn't done me wrong so far. I mean, of course, we can make mistakes. Of course, we can be with the wrong people. But even in being with the wrong people, I've learned a lot about myself. And I've actually been able to build myself to be with the right people. And we can learn what we like or don't like. So if I really feel that vibe, that connection, I'm going to trust that more than anything else and kind of see where it goes. I mean, I'd give that more of the benefit of the doubt than anything else, really.
Yeah, I think that's well said.
So how do you differentiate, like, if you just have this banging connection with somebody or you're super physically attracted? Obviously, people are like, oh my gosh, that's like physically, he's just perfect for me or she's just perfect for me, but then the rest of it's not there. But then you have, like, how do you get past that?
Well, I mean, for me, it's been like, what are your values? What's important to you? And it's weird because
But don't you think that physical connection as humans kind of takes over at first? And
unfortunately,
we hide those red flags, or we're like, I mean, I'll come back to that. I just really want to see what Homeboy's about. That's how do we? I'm honestly asking.
Yeah,
how do
totally.
we?
Well, I'm actually. This is amazing because I thought about this morning, actually, which is super bizarre. The fact that we're doing this today, but so I've learned the past few women I've dated, I've kind of tried to pick the ones that align in my interest, and they didn't work out. So it's like, it was my mind. So like, I've been to Peru and I've done plant medicine in the jungle with shamanic healers. And I end up dating a girl that I met there because she aligned very beautifully with what I'm into, like deeper into. And then I realized that it's like my brain was starting to justify this person who I'm attracted to, like, oh, they do this, they do this, they do this. So like painting this picture around this idea that I like. So not that she was right for me, but so I've learned, okay, maybe that's not the type of person I need to be with. Maybe just because they're in this, they're into health or into whatever, does not mean they actually align with what I'm doing. So to kind of, learn from the people that you don't align with, even when you think you do, going from there, but all life is trial and error, period. And aligning with who we are, understanding if did I make my decision for me or did I make my decision because you told me to. Now, if I'm listening to you only, I'm not going to fucking find the people that I need to be around. You're not me. You know what I mean? But we can take advice, we can learn from the people around us, but it really all does come back to, for me, I mean, meditating, listening to who you are, tuning with what you're actually feeling, man. Like, you feel way different than I do because of your experiences, because of your everything. So in theory, you should be attracted to different people. And if you can align with that part of yourself, you're going to be able to sift through the soil and find the golden nuggets for you much more smoothly.
Well said.
Oh, man. If I smoked, I'd have a cigarette right now. I'm learning so much. It's beautiful, actually.
So, like, to go back, not too far, but you touched upon kind of before that a little bit of like failure in other relationships. Now, have you taken those nuggets? I know for myself, and I'm sure everyone here. Sometimes it's easy to go, you know what? When I went through that breakup, you point the finger. It's all them. I think we all kind of have that attitude, no matter how it kind of goes down, and then, you know, later on when you get older in life, you kind of learn to self-evaluate, to knock out those bad habits you had that maybe cause resentments, or maybe, you know, and take some fault. And so, have you had some growth in that, and has that helped you? I think failure's good because you can learn. So a lot of people say, oh, you know, you got divorced or whatever, it's a bad thing. Okay, but it could be a great thing, right? Because then you can find out who you are, and then find that special girl the right way.
Yeah, you're 100%
going through that
right.
process.
Yeah.
And a lot of what you're speaking, I think we have a little bit in common because we kind of both that On It podcast, Rogan world, and I don't go as deep as you guys, but I'm really big into that. My forms of meditation are a little bit different, but I think self-reflection's super important, and especially if you're going to correct our bad traits that we have. And sometimes we don't even notice them, but our partners notice them.
Yep.
Or we turn a blind eye to them because we think they're secure with us, and we don't have to invest in that bank anymore as much like we used to. I think
Completely.
that's so. What do you think about all that?
So very, very well put, actually. And I mean, it probably all comes down to perceiving yourself and the situation in general from a non-judgmental platform. Because when we can perceive anything just as it is in almost a third-person perspective, then we can see what's happening more so than what we want to believe what's happening or what we think is happening. So for me, a lot of my meditation is, or even a lot of my experiences are, like myself, take myself out of my own person. Like, oh, here's a person, here's what they're feeling, here's what they're experiencing. If I'm actually like looking at you as me, here's a human, they're feeling this way, this is happening around them, and you can kind of build this picture even around your own life from a different perspective. And then you can be like, shit, like, I kind of fucked up there. And, or I should have, been more appreciative of her when she did this. And like through anything that we ever go through, man, it comes down to perception. And if we're able to reflect on that, then we're able to like guide and redirect ourselves with what we actually wish to be doing, not what we think we want to be doing. Two completely different things.
Right.
Dude, I've been fucking heartbroken. I've broken hearts. Like, it really is a part of the cycle, a part of the process. And like, I've been in relationships way longer than I should have been for a plethora of reasons. But that's part of my learning process, it's part of my learning that like sometimes, you have to make the difficult decisions that may hurt people. And it's not up to you how they respond or what they do with that. It's up to you how you approach this situation. Like if we can be beautiful with the people that we actually care about, not just cheat on them or tell them to go fuck off, like you're actually changing the ripple of your behavior from there on out.
Yeah, and I believe in karma too, and I for what it is, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's interesting. What do you think about like tough issue now with social media when it comes to, we kind of discussed about on a lot last podcast, we've all had experiences. We know that single men and married men have no problems going after married females, and I guess there's probably a little bit of it on the other side.
It goes both ways.
Yeah, on the other side, and social media is kind of that instant platform where you can strike that first bond with someone, you could call it, or conversation. So how do you navigate through that, or what? You seem to have a really good knowledge and perspective on yourself, and I'm sure the relationship you're in, with everything you've told me, you guys maybe have a plan of action for that, or you've already got it squashed. So how do you deal with that, or what's your advice on that?
So I'm not going to do something to another male that's been done to me in that kind of concept. Like, I've been cheated on, man, like multiple times. And I'm not going to fucking be that person that helps somebody else feel that way. Just not going to happen. And for me, so like, that's probably why I choose my people more wisely. You know, I'm not just going to pick because I'm physically attracted to somebody. That's one pillar in the whole platform, dude. Like,
yeah, and I think
all better be aligned.
I think for men that takes a while to self-acknowledge. Age, I think, helps with that, to where you turn that filter on.
Yeah.
To where it's like, well, you hot girl, but you level 10 crazy. Jesus, how much Xanax you take today, girl?
That's funny. But I mean, it all comes back down to trial and error, it feels like. You know, I've been with, dude, smoking hot women that I've learned some hard questions from.
Hold up. Do tell. Was this down in the jungles of Peru?
No.
Oh my goodness.
No, man.
Some tropical girl? No?
No, just, I like exotic girls. I like exotic women. I like ethnic people. I like culture. I love learning different aspects of planet Earth. Like, when we were born in different countries, that is so beyond fascinating to me. So there's that intellectual intimacy as well. There's that culture where we can, like, combine two completely different worlds and bridge them together and have a relationship. You know how freaking cool that is? So cool. And like, I don't know. I mean, we all like what we like, you know, but I love learning different languages. I love, like, truly expanding my consciousness. And if I can do that with another person who I'm also very physically attracted to, like, that's a beautiful formula.
Indeed. So I say this, you know, I've been out of the States with the Army and stuff like that, and seeing other places. Obviously, if you're going to South America or wherever, you're seeing somewhat maybe second world, third world type stuff. I always say is it a random luck that we're born and to the parents that we got in the country that we're in? Because you see how other people are in the world, and you're just like, thank your lucky stars. Like, I don't know what roll of the dice I got to end up where I ended up, but it's a lot different in other places.
Dude, I completely agree.
Yeah, it's something that we need. I don't think we cherish it enough as Americans.
Totally, man. And for you, I mean, from what you've been through and where you've been, man, like, I can only begin to comprehend your perception. And I've been to, you know, multiple different third world countries, and even before travel, actually, I talked about this today. It's freaking wild. So I remember, like, staying up at night, dude, like, thinking to myself, I would hate to waste this opportunity. Like, I just fucking knew deeply how lucky I was, how fortunate I was to even be in, you know, in this household, in this family. No matter if there was fighting, like, that was noise to, like, the deeper understanding of what happened here.
Yeah.
And from there, like, that's why, like, I'm pushing, you know, Expand, or our platform, or, like, trying to help provide people with resources that, like, actually freaking matter, that help us as people, man. Like, that's where I deeply resonate with. And I mean, once again, it comes back to, like, I feel like I'd be a fucking fool if I wasted this opportunity, man. Like,
yeah,
you know, not everybody's been to the jungle, and I recognize that. I'm so damn fortunate. So what can I bring back for people that may not get that opportunity? You know what I mean?
Right. Lessons learned and all that stuff.
Totally. And everybody has that.
Yeah.
I think that's the same. Even, I mean, I haven't done the traveling that you've done, but I have moments where I'm just completely overwhelmed with how blessed I am and how great my life is. And to outsiders, I've even had my own mom tell me, I don't know how you walk around with a smile on your face every day. Like, if I had been through everything that you've been through, I wouldn't be so happy. And sometimes, yeah, you know, life sucks and it's hard. You have hard days, but I have so many moments of being so overwhelmingly blessed that I'm like, gosh, I just wish everybody could feel this, or everybody could just appreciate these little moments that I feel like it's like slipping farther away. And if everybody just took a little bit of, I don't know, if everybody accepted
Gratitude.
that, yeah, the gratitude, but also just accepting that everything that happens to you, you've had some part in, you know, like, I mean, yeah, I've had horrible relationships where I've been hurt, but I probably did something along the lines, not necessarily to deserve it, but maybe I skipped a red flag, or I followed a path that I knew better to follow. I feel like if everybody just kind of owned a little bit of their own path, and then also took the time to appreciate the good that's happening all the time, even on those bad days, we'd all just be in such a better place.
Yeah, and we're kind of talking generalization a little outside of dating, but in dating, kind of that I've done it. You can get in that victimization stage of, and I think it's kind of in our culture now too, which is a little scary. But like, it's okay to be a victim, right? If something happens to you, it's a shit roll of the dice, whatever it is, no good, right? At some point, though, if you keep playing that hand, people stop listening. It's and
crying wolf,
and it's really not. It's not productive. And I mean, there's little things in life I struggle with, like, oh, you know what, just chill out, you know, whatever. But like, I think that victimization in dating's an easy trap to get into. Like, oh, I can't get in a relationship. I always get cheated on. I always get this. It's always someone else's fault. And you know, in some cases, I'm sure they got a shit roll, but in a lot of cases, it's like, all right, okay, I got cheated on, but what took our relationship from that physical love attraction to she's getting attention somewhere else?
Right, like something fell apart along the way, and maybe it is all her or him, and probably not, though. I think it's a two-way street, and I think that it's super important for you to take that time after a relationship to really process what happened and look at your own self. But unfortunately, most of us don't do that. We're on the look. We're lonely, and we're like moving on to the next person. We're passing that on. The biggest thing that I got from what you were just saying about your travels and how lucky you feel is that at the end of the day, I feel very lucky that I've found this place of just peace, and knowing that no matter what happens, if I'm meant to, you know, go through this journey that I've gone through and the heartache that I've gone through, I mean, my life is awesome for the most part, you know? And I just wish everybody could really stop and slow down and appreciate those moments more.
I mean, we would build so much better relationships if we did that. If we just took that extra time to, like, absorb our emotions and freaking dissolve them in our own self and not lash them out, and not, you know, reach for poor outputs and outcomes. But I mean, it's funny because for me, it's almost been somewhat of an opposite from becoming a victim. It's like I've understood to some degree why they made that choice. So they were cheated on in the past. I could like trace this breadcrumb down to kind of be like, I see where you're coming from. And that almost allowed me to become more okay with how they treated me. Right. So kind of more accepting because I understood like they're a person learning some lessons, and we're just kind of in this mix of relationship now. Right.
And it's like when you tell your kids, you know, same thing with yours. They go through things and they're being bullied. And I tell my kids all the time that kids aren't going to be mean to you unless they're going through things on their own, and hurt people. And at a young age, I want my kids to understand that. Because if you can come from a place of understanding when somebody does something, not that you should accept it. I don't think that people should stay in relationships where they're being abused or hurt all the time. But if you can understand where they come from, I mean, I grew up in a super loving home, and you know, I saw love all around me. I had a huge support system, and so for me to understand what it would be like for somebody growing out without one of their parents, or like in an abusive parental situation, I wouldn't understand that. But if I can put myself in their situation and understand that maybe they didn't grow up with that same love and support, then it's easier, I think.
100% agree. That's been one of my biggest challenges, just being with people in general, is because I actually genuinely care about people. And I understand, like, you have a world that I may never even be able to comprehend, and your behavior sprouted from that soil. But still, like, being able to, like, own up with who I am, where I'm going, what I'm doing, and seeing who really does align and who doesn't align. It doesn't mean that we have to be, you know, rude about it. That doesn't mean that we have to completely disrespect the people that don't align.
Right.
So that's been like that's been a big part of my learning process, just with other people in general, really.
Yeah, and that learning process is I think it takes some age and it takes some experience for sure. And just man, when you meet someone too that's gone through so much shit and done it all on their own. Speaking of like this gal over here, just like grade A+ mother of the fucking year. Probably the best I've ever even seen in action.
Oh,
and does it 100% on her own. Talk about attractive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
Not only is she physically attractive, but she's a super good mom. And that trait, I think, is not gone by the wayside, but the relationship she has with her daughter and son is super attractive. And so for what she's gone through, man, I see her advice a lot because she's just such a great mom, such a great person.
Well, thank you so much. Honestly, like,
yeah,
I would cry
cool.
if I wasn't. I knew this is going to be somewhere on YouTube later, but I think that I could say a lot of the same things for you and your children and the way that you're raising them and doing it on your own. They just adore you, and I think that the biggest thing that I've always told myself is that my kids didn't sign up to have a single mom. Like most,
right.
You know, you the dream is that you have a loving mom and dad, and you make this beautiful child together, and they have both parents. And my kids didn't sign up to only have one. So I've always worked super, super hard to make sure that they never feel less than or experience a life of, oh, my mom's a single mom, so we only have this. You know, I've pushed harder. It's honestly just made me so much better, I think, as a person. Because now I have these two little humans that need something, and I'm really lucky to just be their mom. So, anyways, right back at you with everything you do with your 3 beautiful children.
Thank you.
Well, just to add into the mix, I don't have children, but it's amazing when there's a calling for certain people, and like what we do with our calling. Like you chose to step up and be a wonderful mother. As to where a lot of people don't do that. Or you with, you know, your children. And it's like that, to me, that shows like the strength in the people around you. Like those are the characteristics that I like do my best to pay attention to. And then like when other things, you know, don't align, it's just it's hard to find people to like actually build a relationship with. Especially if you want to do it to a depth that truly is fulfilling for you. And every person's on such a different level, and to align and the whole vastness of the universe in one moment, in one city, in one area, it's just truly mind-blowing who we can even be intimate with, you know, like on that deeper level.
Yeah, and that's a valid point. And then kind of you were talking about all the elements that you're looking at when you're dating and when you're a parent, that just stacks up more, right? So, and for me, and I think you were the same, it's tough to date people that don't have kids because they can't relate. And then it's also tough as a single dad that raises your kids because that's not very common where they have them all the time. And so those variables come into play. And so, yeah, meeting someone in those circumstances, and then they have their circumstances if they have kids. It's real common in your 30s. So you're also taking 2 different family organisms and combining them, and that can be really tricky.
Yeah.
For the question for the both of you, then, so does that help you become more like accepting of each other's behavior because you do align in such a way that is pretty rare to find?
Well, I think that we honestly have a lot in common because of that, but that may not be necessarily our driving factors as far as how we, you know, met or where we're at now. Definitely plays a role in it. I think it's a trick between like becoming someone's friend, and when they have kids and you're going through that cycle of dating and falling in love and stuff like that, you have to be cognizant of their children, and you have to you have to make attempts to build relationships with those kids. You can't mail it in, and they can't do it with your kids, because if you do that in the beginning, it's decimal at the end. And so I think that's the main thing when you're thinking about combining two families. There has to be that friendship and love between the two parents, but there has to be that friendship and love between the stepchildren too, or the future stepchildren. Because if those relationships aren't built, I'm a believer that it can it builds resentments in the foundation of the relationship, and speaking on experience. And so I think in both cases, it has to be true, it has to be real, and it has to be from the start when children are involved, and it has to be an honest approach. I see a lot of, I call them mail-in parents. You know what I mean? I got custody, this much. And it's like, okay, I get it, but I don't. It's mailing it in, kind of. Yeah. What do you think about all that?
Oh my gosh. I don't know. I mean, I agree with everything that you just said. I have to add that for me, as far as our relationship has gone, it's been huge in you having your kids full time, because I think that dating someone when you're a single mom is already hard. When you're a single mom who has their kids 100% of the time, like that takes it to a whole nother level. I don't have every other weekend off.
Right.
I can't say, hey, every other weekend let's head up to McCall and have a weekend. Like, they're always there, and I am so lucky that they're always there. So that's not a complaint. I don't have to share them, but you're the same way in the fact that you know that on a Wednesday night I'm probably not going to meet you at Hannah's.
Yeah.
Because you have little girls you have to tuck in, and so I think that that's something that we definitely can relate to, and I don't have to feel guilty about. I don't have to feel like I'm trying to be someone else during this whole dating process and act like I do go out during the week.
And that's a complete, that's well put. And I didn't, that's a valid point. And that does add a lot of value, because right out of the gate, if Kelly has got something with her kids, I don't need an explanation. I get it. You know what I mean? Like, it's a full-time job. And when there's only one parent in the house, there's only one person covering all the utility bills, getting groceries, doing this, doing that, making sure the kids are in dance or have a hobby and fed and got shoes and the mortgages, and all that stuff goes into play with everything else in life. And so, like, right away there's that understanding between us, and that's a cool, because that's an instant bond. Like, we get it.
Yeah, that's incredible for the both of you. I mean, it feels like a relationship should be something that you can relate to and in.
Yeah.
Like, let's say two business owners are in a relationship. They understand the schedule of each other much more efficiently. And there's that other person that may not. So let's say one business person and one person doesn't even know what it's like. You know what I mean? Like, it's a different freaking world to run a podcast, to hold classes, to push product, to meet people. Like, you actually live a different life than most people on the planet.
Yeah, and a lot of people, and you just bring up another valid point that we fit right together. I mean, she's self-employed. She has some ventures she's doing, and then I have ventures that I'm doing. And part of the reason we live this lifestyle isn't because we necessarily wanted to. I do now, and I'm chasing my dreams, doing my nonprofit and my podcast.
Which is amazing, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah. And then everything that I'm doing, I got into it. I got into real estate really because it gave me the schedule I needed to give the kids the time they needed. I could work around, but man, it's a process, and it's not easy to get to a level where you can support yourself and your kids full time. But that's why we have this ridiculous schedule of working on a Monday night. But we were able to pick our kids up from school. Yeah. So in the same token, we have the freedom in our lives, and we both connect that way, and we both have really big goals, and she's ambitious and positive and supportive and a great mom, and so that aligns with kind of my stuff. So yeah, I guess I was wrong in the beginning. It plays a huge role. I talked myself out of it.
Oh man.
See, I learned something.
Yeah. I think that's a huge role too, in as far as like when you are dating someone. I joked about it before when I was technically single for quite some time and took a lot of time out. I don't think I even went on a date or so much as kissed a guy for almost 2 years. And I was just super focused on building my career and taking care of the kids and figuring out why like my relationships are failing and whatever else. I spent a lot of time just working on me, and so thankful that I did. But during that time, I learned that it's so important that I feel like I live in a pretty big world. Like, I'm a dreamer. I want to know everyone. I don't know a stranger. And I love that about myself. And I don't want to dumb myself down in the fact that I have to change my personality in any way, really, for anyone else. And I think that in my past relationships, even though they might be awesome people, they don't see the same big picture as I do. And so as far as like being an entrepreneur, I definitely made that one of my top priorities. Like, I want somebody that's an entrepreneur as well, because I want to have that schedule, and I don't want to feel like I'm tied down to somebody who is at a 9-to-5 if I'm not at a 9-to-5. And I think that that's something that's super important too, and that I was super attracted to you about, is that we both just live outside the box, and there's no real schedule from day to day. I mean, we're very scheduled because we have to be, but every day looks different, and not everybody understands that. So that was a big one for me.
Yeah, it's kind of a crazy world. And just, again, I think that Kelly too, she's bound to be a star. She's a rock star mom. What she's saying about like she's like in the grocery store the other day, these people had all these cakes. She helps them out, complete strangers, go gets them a cart. She is like that. And I think that personality, and then this podcast, I think, is just going to flow out, and she's going to be a star. And she's a rock star mom to top it off. Did I mention that?
You guys are awesome. For real. This is really cool.
You're awesome, dude. Your perspective is super neat. And I got to hear stuff. I've never been, like, let's face it, that world, you call it kind of hippie-ish, and I'm into it. I'm into the holistic healing, and I didn't used to think like that at all. And the years, enlightenment, stuff, failures you go through where you look at yourself and go, fuck, I'm an asshole, and what am I doing wrong? And I started to gravitate towards that. And what you guys do in meditation and can teach with self-reflection, I think is important to anyone. And that world is you don't have to go all the way in to get benefits from it. You really don't. I said I find a lot of meditation, and what I find it in is like really strenuous workouts. Like, if I'm having a rough day, things aren't going my way, and I usually don't want to go to the gym because I'm like, I gotta get this fixed, I gotta do this. In those days, I force myself in there, and I really kick my own ass, because when I leave, all that anxiety's gone, and I'm in a great mood. Even though I'm exhausted physically, mentally, I feel great. And I think with that stuff and holistic side, that movement is to get off people from SSRIs, Xanax, and stuff like that, things that fuck with your serotonin levels. And in a lot of cases, I think if you can find what your meditation is, and for some people it might be climbing a mountain, for some people it might be whatever, but finding that activity. But I think it's important that the activity physically strains you, and you face that adversity. And I think that really releases, as humans, we're wired to do that.
Do you think too, and I want you to be able to answer this question, but I don't go to the gym all the time. I was in a gym mode for a long time, and I haven't been for a while. I would love to get back into that. But for me, the way that I start my day is huge. So if I just wake up in the morning and I start scrolling social media, and I'm already annoyed that 10 people have more than I do today, or I find out that like an ex did something that annoys me, or whatever it is, I think that for me doesn't work. And it's just kind of like when I wake my daughter up. She's a horrible morning person, the biggest lover in the world. I just adore my daughter, but I've learned how to wake her up. And if I wake her up and like turn the light on, hey, get up, it's time to go to school, everyone is going to pay for her attitude for like the next hour. But if I wake her up and I just kind of scratch her back and I tell her how sweet she is and how much I love her and I hope she had sweet dreams, then she has this whole nice way of waking up, then she's in a good mood. It just sets the tone. So I feel like some of those, if you do like DMOs or anything like that, that sets your tone as well for the day. And whether you get a workout in or not, you started your day in a positive way. I don't know how you feel about
That's a good point.
DMOs at all.
What is your definition of DMO?
Well, like a daily method of, so like a daily, the way you wake up, if it is with a prayer or meditation or just saying what you're appreciative for, or I don't know, counting your blessings, whatever you want to call it, but waking up and before you reach for your phone to look at social media or start your day right away out the gate, like we're rushing out the door, you kind of just take a minute to be thankful for another day and listen to something positive, I guess.
First of all, both of these are huge beyond recognition. I'll start here because it's the most recent. So when we think about starting our day, essentially we can think about it as tuning our instrument for a certain type of song that we wish to play. Now, if we tune our instrument to be in an aggressive manner, that's kind of the theme song of the day, right? But if we can align it, tune it for even like a 2-minute tune is kind of what I call it. And that 2 minute could be subjective. It could be 10 minutes. That's besides the point. It's, are you taking a moment to set your energetic intention, your daily intention for where you wish to be going? And so the Navajo, they have a way of waking up in the morning. It's so beautiful. A friend of mine from the UFC, Nikore Montoya, told me about this, which did change my life. So they would wake up with the sun, truly align with the wave of the day. They would set their intention, whatever it was. They would make sure, does this benefit me? How does this benefit the world around me? How does this benefit the greater good? So you set your intention to, okay, how does this benefit me? How does that benefit the world around me? How does this benefit the greater good of the world, of the universe, of whichever? Like that, to have those three things in alignment, you know how much more confident you feel with that intention you put forth?
It's positive right away.
Completely positive, right? Like it routes your perception to walk a certain pathway. Now we're flooded with freaking opportunities, or we're overwhelmed with so many different aspects. So social media is the most basic form of example. Right now, you could even wake up your child in 4,000 different ways. You could find 1,000,000 different ways to wake that person up. But if you align more with being genuine, your behavior is actually going to be more genuine when you walk into that room. It's naturally going to follow that rhythm of tone. And for me, so I can put down this hat aggressively. I can put it down very kindly. I can put it down to align with myself. It doesn't matter. I'm still putting the hat down. What's that true tone of how you wish to behave in your daily manner, your daily routine? That influences every single person around you. When someone's aggressive and they walk into a room, we feel that immediately.
Yeah, the energy.
I love this guy.
I love you both and all of you. This is super cool.
He could wing it.
I mean, you're awesome. But martial arts and meditation have been huge for me, feeling other people's energy. So when we're sparring people and you have somebody who's very aggressive, they actually feel and move a different way.
Yeah.
If they feel anxiety, if they're afraid to get hit, they feel and move a different way. Our nervous system is routed and rooted to express our emotion through our cells, through our body. That's what it knows to do. Right? So if we're super calm and smooth in that sparring session, what's your movement going to do? It's going to find those holes. It's going to go right to your target, whether or not you want it to. It's going there because that's all it wants to do.
The flow.
The true flow. And we can do that with how we actually move as people too. But kind of route back to your response. Everybody's way of meditation should be their own unique practice. And I'm a huge believer in what I've done with myself and what I help other people do is we provide people with a plethora of different tools. Now, every part of meditation routes down to sensation. Sensation is our direct connection to the moment we are in, no matter what. They found scientific brain studies that if you focus on the sensation of your breath, the parts of the brain that register past and future actually shut down. So that sensation is your direct association to the moment we are in, whether that's working out, whether that's breathing, doesn't matter.
Yeah, I've read
it's one concept, right?
Yeah, that's cool stuff.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's freaking fantastic. So when we think about sensation, once again, from a non-judgmental platform of perception and observation, I can feel something right now. If I have a tool of 12 different ways to meditate or bring myself back to homeostasis, if I align with this true feeling and I'm not afraid of it, I can pick what tool is actually going to help me the most in that moment. That's like deep alignment. That's deep intuition. And you only learn how to do that by applying certain tools in different moments and seeing what works and what doesn't work. Sometimes it's working out, right? Sometimes it's even being kind to your children. Like, that's a way to bring you back to homeostasis. You know, I mean, meditation, it's a way of perception. It's a way of movement. Like motionless motion or effortless effort, all that crazy, you know, philosophical Taoism, Bruce Lee talk. Like, it's so real. And one of like the best quotes I know, I don't know word for word, but it's like, teach martial arts in a way that it can be applicable in all areas of life. Like, that's what we hope for, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to learn something that's only okay in one moment. Like, how can you express this scenario in a way where they actually become a better person?
And pull valuable lessons
Dude,
from.
totally, man. Yeah. That goes with them as people. Now you're building a person with skill sets and attributes that goes with them. And I can be more mindful in our discussion. I can be more mindful with my breath, with how I drive, with how I make love, dude, anything. Yeah. Like, build things that freaking go with you. That's where I like deeply resonate with.
Easy, ladies, he's taken.
I know. He's taken. What a lucky girl. I'm kidding.
Indeed.
It's just so good. It
So
just
dreamy.
goes back to the fact that I feel like if everyone just took every day in saying, like, what can I do to make the world a better place, or it just comes down to putting good out there. Just being the best version of yourself that you can be. And we all fail. We're human. That's what we're going to do. But if your intentions are good and your intentions are set and you wake up and start it in a positive way, I just think the world could really benefit from more people just like you.
Thank
you.
you. Well, it's same with you guys.
Refreshing listening to you.
I mean, look at what you're doing. You're providing this platform for me to even express this part of myself. You know, I haven't been on any other podcast that I haven't been allowed in this dynamic to be this kind of person. That's the beauty in, like, having genuine group discussions.
Yeah.
This is enormous.
I was trying to tell someone the other day, they're like, so the podcasting, like, what's it? And I said, what I really enjoy about it and what I learned about it, and maybe I talked about with you to expand, but you get to sit down with someone that you would never have a conversation with before, maybe necessarily in your life. And it isn't like a cereal bowl deep conversation. You talk to them for, like, in this case, we've been talking almost an hour. I've already talked to you before, and then what was that, an hour?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so now we have this bond, this friendship, and you don't get that really in a whole lot of professions where you get to really sit down and talk to someone in an open format. And oftentimes, I think in interviews, like on late shows or whatever, interview formats can be too canned.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not getting the real person.
Completely.
And so I love the uninterrupted realness of podcasting, the language, the body language, everything, the energy of it, because it's all authentic for the most part. I'm sure there's podcasts with some production that do some things, but with interview styles. But for the most part, I like the raw, organic podcast where, you know, it's just a conversation. They may hit some notes up, but nothing too formatted, and you get that trueness from people.
100%. I mean, it makes it more enjoyable in the moment too.
Yeah.
Like, who wants to just be asked, like, 10 bullet questions down the line? Like, what human connection are you building doing that? You know, I mean, maybe if it's Lance Armstrong or somebody who, like, you have real set questions, but if you're also a human that can feel another human's presence, can you guide those questions in a way where they don't seem like bulleted questions?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's so freaking cool to like actually engage in genuine discussion with other people who are along the same path. It's kind of like what you said. I mean, most people in an interview setting, they're going to show up being who they think you want them to be. But like these kinds of platforms and the people that I found who are willing to, build podcasts are going to be more like actual genuine human beings that just want to talk about some stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if we can all learn from each other's mistakes and past failures.
Yeah, and tidbits of advice too. One of those things, I can't remember if I picked it up from Rogan's, but it was a dude talking, and he used to sit himself down as if he was sitting himself down in front of his head football coach or a coach, you know what I mean, and going through his daily routine. And I started doing that, and it's a real pain in the ass because you can see some pretty big holes, You're like,
I can
what's
see
going
that.
on here, fuckwad? You slept till 8:30?
That's a really good point, actually. I've never heard that before.
Yeah, and I started doing that, and I still, if I feel like I'm slacking, I'll sit down and pound it out, and it's really benefited me. It's just one of those stupid things. You hear it, and it's like, if you actually do it, it makes sense. But you got to be willing to sit down and look at what you did that day and find the holes in it. And you can find holes in it, even if you're a cocky son.
May I add something with that too?
Yeah.
So for me, the past few months, I've been working on that same concept with actually like my potential self. So not like another coach, but like this person that if they were my future being who knows more things than I do, who has a much more broad perspective, what would their day look like? Would they wake up? Would they
my gosh, I do the same thing.
It's amazing. Like, would they meditate in the morning? Would they eat McDonald's in the morning? Like, what would this person actually be doing to align more with that kind of behavior, this more like pure, enlightened, authentic, wisdomized behavior, or whatever word you want to put to it? But that's going to help me even to learn like what kind of motions I should be doing to kind of become more of that person,
You know who talks on that, and I love it, and I started doing it, is Conor McGregor. He says it back in an interview. I'm already carrying myself as a world champion. Completely. And that says a lot about what you're doing. And so as goofy as that is, I send him to her. I listen to him every day.
He's the man.
I've listened to, and I listen to stuff like that daily to try to get. I think if you it's just like a farm, right? If you plant the seeds, it's going to grow if you plant it and nurture it. And I think if you're planting that type of stuff in your head, and especially when you're an entrepreneur and you're chasing big things, like if you carry yourself like you've achieved it, why shouldn't you? No one dictates your effort. No one can dictate who you are. And so I think that the message he gives right there is super valuable in life, not in fighting, in life. Completely. Whatever your goals are, you should be working hard enough towards it that you have that attitude. You can't just have that attitude. You can't just be like, I'm the next Conor McGregor and not do anything about it, right? You got to put the work in. But when you're putting the work in, you can have that type of confidence. And I believe in that manifestation of hard work and belief and carrying yourself, and that takes a lot of growth and a lot of years, but I dig it.
Totally, man. I agree completely. I mean, so many people, like especially now, I mean, Gary Vee talks about this all the freaking time, how anybody can put entrepreneur in their Instagram profile and does not make them an entrepreneur.
Correct.
So we can say we are these things, but I really do think it comes back down to even feeling like you are that person. So it's weird when you think about like being optimistic. I can tell myself I'm strong, but if I don't feel strong, am I just like lying to myself? Your subconscious mind knows that. But it's weird because you get like every different person needs something different for them to even get on that platform. So I don't judge for anything like that, but I guess I've learned through doing those things, like deeper, better ways that help you actually feel like that person, not just think you are that person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And hard work is one of them, man. You got to work hard to feel like you are that person.
Yeah. And
you know what I mean?
Yeah, and failure with that should be, if you're not failing, what are you doing?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like the podcasting, all that stuff, it's trial and error. And you got to keep putting in the work. Keep your nose down. Keep trying.
Yeah, but like a good friend of mine always says to feel forward. Like you're moving forward. If you're not trying things and failing, you're not really moving forward. So It's funny that you said that, because just today I was so tired and exhausted from just life in general. And I was writing down everything that I needed to get done and what I could do, like extra credit points, basically.
That's cool.
And for a second I thought, what would I be doing if, like I could potentially go from having 2 kids to having 5 kids, and I was looking at it in the future reference, like what would I be doing right now? And probably not take a nap. You probably can't take a nap today, not that I get naps very often, but it was something that came into my mind, and it made me want to do more with my day.
Mm-hmm.
Because looking forward, I just anticipate my life getting busier and busier with all of the stuff that he has planned, and I'm involved in a nonprofit and my business and my kids and their sports, and his kids have activities. I can't imagine that I'm ever going to sleep again for the rest of my life. But it's so cool, because the way that you worded that, I actually thought that today, like looking forward, what would my day look like? And I don't know. Very cool.
It's amazing too when you think about like living in the moment or being present, because that can be both helpful and harmful, depending on what route you go. Like, well,
Sure.
I'm gonna be happy now. I'm gonna party it up. I'm gonna get drunk. But like, are you actually living in the moment, or are you just thinking you're living in the moment? So there's a lot of weird things that go in line with that too. But that's really, really cool.
Yeah, and I think if we can relate this to dating, we'll take it back here. But like in life, I used to have the mentality.
Oh, it's a dating podcast?
So, I'm a sales guy. I was military, but I went into sales. And I being competitive, you get the mentality sometimes when you get into a new profession or anything new, whether it's dating, and you have that, you see someone doing it well. Like, let's say you're working at a car dealership, or you see someone dating well, and instantly you want to top them. And that you kind of build them as an enemy. And I've learned as I'm older now, when I'm new to something, or I'm a new and I don't want to seek out and destroy the top dog. I want to seek him out and learn from him.
Right.
And I tried to apply that towards like dating this last go round. Like, who am I trying to be? Like, who am I looking up to? I think it's important too to have those mentors that are real, because I think they add a lot of value to that manifestation of your life and that whole karma and the build up of everything.
100%. And they also help show you that something is real and doable.
Right.
And that's maybe one of the most important
so
things
important.
they do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is so important. And I've told you this before, in the career choices that I've had. I was a bartender for a lot of years. I went into the beauty profession. Both of those jobs, you'd be surprised at how much I hear about cheating, or I see spouses cheating, or I can't even tell you how what's the word that you get, kind of jaded, I guess, from hearing all of this all the time. Or back in the day when I would serve somebody a drink and the next night he's there with no ring. He was there with his wife the night before with a ring, and then you move into the beauty profession where people come in and trust me with their lives, but some of that is their relationship. Most of it is their relationship, and you hear about their spouse cheating or them cheating on their spouse, and that's not all my clients. I don't want to say that, but you just start to feel like, is there anybody good out there? And is there anything that can really last? And that's the one thing that I think most people would say, like, why is Kelly even doing a dating podcast? Like, hasn't she had like failed marriages? Yes, absolutely. I've had failed marriages. I've made stupid choices, and I haven't listened necessarily to my intuitions, and I've learned a lot from all of my decisions and mistakes. But as far as like feeling like you're seeing all of this and looking for hope, I'm glad that there's people like you and things like this that people can listen to and know that there are good relationships out there, and I think that's going to be big on this whole show, bringing people on that are successful.
Speaking of that, me and her have discussed it too. Like, we're going to have fun on this dating show, but our goal is to bring on successful couples too, so we can be a platform for learning instead
That's
of
cool.
because it's easy to get caught up in the the negativity of dating right now. Everyone's done it. There's Tinder, there's all this. Everyone's crazy and getting all this attention. But let's not worry about that. We'll talk about it. But let's bring in some people that are like, power couples in a sense, and really got their shit locked down. Because I'm interested to know, what do you guys do?
Yeah.
How do you make it work?
And not just happy on social media, but actually
truly
happy people. There's a difference, And I think we have a couple really good couples
Candidates,
lined up that we're going to talk to, and I'm super excited to learn from. But if you're not willing to learn, then I don't know. I went to marriage counseling by myself I don't even know, I was literally, they're like, you realize you're supposed to come with a person, right?
When you say it out loud, it seems pretty silly.
It does. But I learned so much from it, and I realized it takes two people. But I learned so much from that, and I'm not afraid to say that I've had failed relationships, and it does take two people to make that work.
There's been some dumpster fires behind my building, so.
Well,
train wrecks, really.
I think to add to your expression too, I think that shows a lot about your courage to even be on here, even though people may be saying, "What are you doing?" because of your history. That is pretty incredible. The fact that it feels more like you're coming here to just speak your truth and learn and be real and be genuine and be honest, no matter where you are. You don't have to be unbelievable experts in something to provide something for other people to learn from.
Exactly.
Because we are also in that process of learning. I've learned from every single guest that we've had on something that blows me away. It becomes so beautiful when you're in this room, and only the people that are really participating in the episode really know what's happening.
Yeah, you just take these little nuggets and apply those to your life, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, totally.
Mm-hmm.
Dude,
you're awesome.
Yeah,
both of you. Everyone
here is awesome. But shout out to you, man. The Expand podcast, check him out.
I'll be checking it out.
Yeah, no, he's got great shows, and the lineup, I was going through.
He's told me a lot about you, and I've looked at some of what you've done. It's
I'm a subscriber. I'm a fan. I'm a fanboy. I suggest everyone, where can they follow your podcast on?
iTunes. We're on the Google Play and Stitcher.
How about Instagram?
We are on Instagram, my friend.
Could you tell us your IG address?
It is XPAND yourself. Expand yourself without the E. And here is a personal invitation for everybody here. We are jumping in the river every Saturday right now at 8 in the morning. So,
oh my goodness, I actually saw something like that on your page.
Yeah, we saw
Tell
that.
us about it. Why? Why are you doing this?
Because it is one of the best things that you could possibly do for your brain, for your immune system, for your nervous system, for the cells in your body, for everything that makes you a person in a physical form. So, we prep our breathing before the cold exposure with 3 rounds of Wim Hof breathing. So you're familiar with that. It's pretty much 30 deep inhale exhales, holding your breath at the end without air in your lungs, and then holding your breath with a full breath of air 3 times. What it does, it preps your nervous system in your sympathetic state. It lights up your body to prepare for stress, emotional stress, physical stress, trauma. All of these different components, it register in the brain as stress. It doesn't matter what it is. So we prep the body to really develop an awareness of where it is. You link your brain and your body unbelievably well together. You change the pH levels in your blood by bringing them to a more alkaline level. This is like tuning your body to a radio station that your nervous system loves. So it's like, oh, there's that channel.
So cool.
It just knows how to circulate through that kind of blood level and that pH level. You're releasing T and B cells in your bone marrow that battle inflammation, the root of all disease. Like, this is just through the breathing exercises. Then we introduce the body to cold exposure. So you shock that system, you activate the proteins on your cells that allow them to protect your whole body.
I've heard so much about
It's
that.
unbelievable.
Cryo
Like the
tanks.
cold showers and the like walking out in the cold grass in the morning and just letting your feet be
Is there
grounded
everything?
and
one spot in Boise that has cryo tanks?
I think there's one or two, yeah.
Yeah.
There's like a mobile guy, and then there's one that has a facility here.
so but you're doing this every Saturday here in town.
hmm
Okay, tell us where we're gonna find you.
I don't have the exact address. It's right
Okay.
behind the Riverside Apartments, right
Oh,
where
okay.
like the
Okay.
wooden bridge and the and the river meet. We had basically, so I've been doing this for 4 years. The first weekend we had my buddy and I put it out on media, freaking blew up. The next weekend we had 8 people. This Saturday we had 33 people.
Maybe get
Nice.
some consistent. Yeah.
Dude,
Yeah.
every person that was there the first time showed up again. And they're almost everybody that was here this last Saturday is going to be there again this Saturday. You guys are all invited. Come on down.
Oh my gosh, I feel like we should go.
Bring your
Maybe,
kids,
yeah.
everything. Like we had a 10-year-old there doing it with us, between 10 and 55 years old.
Our kids are crazy. They'd totally be down
It's
for
amazing.
it.
Truly,
For sure.
it's incredible.
Sam will
Nice.
probably do some acting for him.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So you are invited, but
It
Yeah.
sounds amazing.
Excellent. Yeah. Well, thanks for coming on, especially
Totally.
short notice. Shout out to the Expand podcast. You guys check it out. Season 1, episode 2 coming to an end here. I'm not gonna. For the next episode, we're gonna introduce our Date It or Dump It segment.
Yeah.
Where we're gonna go over some dating trends or some silly shit like that.
Yeah.
Date it or dump it section. So if you got any date it or dump it comments, hit us up at the podcast email, which is thecouplespodcast@gmail.com. Like to thank everyone for listening. Kelly, you're so gorgeous. You got anything?
I just adore you. Thank you.
All right, Tim.
Thanks for coming.
thank
You're
you so
amazing.
much. That was
I got
absolutely
nothing.
Love you
wonderful.
so much. Tim, I adore you too.
Yeah, thanks. Sarah's working the whole time. That's what I do.
I love your dog too.
All right, folks. Check us out on Instagram, iTunes, Spotify. Subscribe, YouTube. We out.
Bye.